So I started playing Dragon Age 2 in 2021. It was finally time to give this ever so divisive 2011 title a fair chance. I would often hear people saying that it's one of the worst games ever created, and then the next day I'd hear someone say that it's not only just their favorite Dragon Age game, but their favorite game of all time. Worst game ever, best game ever. What's going on here? Well, the only way for me to truly find out was to jump into it myself with an open mind and a commitment to play it all the way through. As some of you may know, I played a bit of Origins back in 2009, and also finished a complete playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition and its DLCs only just a couple months back. And now, I have also finished Dragon Age 2. Quite an odd order to play them in, but initially I didn't have any plans to even play Dragon Age 2, but meeting Hawke in Inquisition and just remembering bits and pieces from Origins really reignited my interest in the Dragon Age franchise. Now that I have truly become the champion of Kirkwall and showed Mr. Bulging Biceps Bubbly Butt Cheeks Aeroshock that steroids are not always the solution, it's time to now share my personal experience with Dragon Age 2. If you guys end up enjoying this video, please subscribe as I do all sorts of RPG related content on this channel. I really appreciate your guys' support. Let's get right into it. Many of you that absolutely hate this game, when you hear me praising something, it will probably result in a quick emotional response in the comment section, damning me to a life of ever-burning hell. And some of you who absolutely love this game, when you hear my negative criticism, your butt cheeks will clench and you'll proceed to tell me that I have an IQ of 70. And my only question to that is that in Celsius or Fahrenheit? So in order to prevent this from happening, even though it will absolutely not do that, I'm going to alternate from good to bad, amazing to horrible, and we'll arrive at our final conclusion that you definitely don't want to miss. Let's start off on a positive note. Drumroll, please. Alright, well, I don't actually know why I did that, but we'll start off talking about the story. So in Dragon Age 2, you assume the role of a human named Hawke, which if you came right from Dragon Age Origins, you may have a problem with that, because you now don't really get to roleplay your very own character. The good thing though is that you do get some customization with Hawke, as you can play as a man or a woman. And you still get to choose your class, either mage, rogue, or warrior. Since I played Inquisition recently, I was actually really excited to assume the role of a character that I've already met in the future, so this worked out great for myself. I actually really enjoyed Hawke's character, and I think he or she turned out to be a really cool role to assume in an RPG, kind of like how I love playing as Geralt in The Witcher. One of the best things here is that for almost all of the dialogue, you get to kind of determine Hawke's personality, even though he is essentially a predefined character in many ways. You can be more polite, be sarcastic, or be more aggressive, or experience a mix of them all. My personal favorite, of course, was going with the purple-colored, sarcastic, more comedic responses, as I used them in probably 90% of my playthrough. The writing for these responses was really well done, and it's one of the reasons as to why I wanted to keep playing. The comedic relief from the rather intense story was many times highly entertaining. The story overall was a rather intense, dramatic story that, of course, in Dragon Age fashion, forces Hawke into various political situations, which result in you having to make some tough decisions. As the story goes on, you continue to feel a pressure building up between the mages and the Templars, which of course results in an explosion, wink wink, of violence. Throughout most of the playthrough, you really do feel the city on the cusp of war, which is a feeling that seeps into you and may put you on the edge of your seat in many situations. And this goes for gameplay and dialogue in general. Your choices do matter and will change the outcome of your story in many ways. I, of course, have not experienced all of the outcomes and various endings, so I can't really comment on how well done it truly is. But what I can say is that some of the decisions that I had to make, I at least got the feeling that I was making a heavy decision. Without getting too much into spoilers, even though it's a 2011 game, I will say that the lead up to the ending was pretty crazy. Some characters that you may become attached to may end up betraying you, or you may end up betraying them. I think Dragon Age 2's overall story was very well done, and it was one of my favorite aspects of this game. Not my absolute favorite, which I'll get into that shortly, but definitely a story that fans of Dragon Age in general should experience. Like I promised though, after offering some praise, it's time to go into annihilation mode.
Round 1, fight!
Dragon Age 2's visuals, which goes for just about everything from the environment to the little details to the NPCs, was really horrible. Like, what the hell were they thinking releasing it like this? I know for a fact that the visuals alone turned so many people away from what could have been a truly amazing experience for many gamers. We do have to keep in mind that the game was released in 2011, along with Skyrim, but I'm not really talking specifically about the graphical quality, as graphics are hardly ever a true indicator of a game's true value. I've played so many amazing games that didn't have great graphics. But for Dragon Age 2, when you accompany bad graphics with very little contrast to the world, in 1,000 straight up cloned NPCs, cloned trees, cloned haircuts, cloned buildings, cloned everything, you put out a game that even those who don't really care as much about graphics can't really get past it. The environment and the city and everything basically kind of felt like it was an amateur project with a $500 budget. Now, I'm not going to actually smack on the art team at BioWare specifically because, as most of us know, the game was rushed by EA, BioWare's publisher. BioWare was supposedly given about 14 months to finish this entire RPG, and well, it was extremely evident that this occurred pretty much right when you take your first steps in the game, and it only gets worse as you keep playing. I honestly had zero interest, seriously, in going out and exploring and seeing new areas of the game. I knew that all the areas were going to look horrible, and this pretty much turned out to be true. Even the Dalish area, where you expect some beautiful trees and the coastline, was just really ugly and looked like it was put together in a day. The city of Kirkwall, where most of the game takes place, is already kind of a depressing type of city in the lore. And the game definitely succeeded at portraying this, but not really in that role-playing type of way. More so in a this game looks crappy type of way. It seems like the majority of quests that you take on, you run up and down the ugly copy-pasted streets, look at the cloned NPCs, seriously, look at the cloned NPCs, you cannot miss it, it's crazy, and pray that you'll maybe find a random beautiful oasis, which never comes. There were maybe 2 buildings in the entire city that looked alright on the inside. Exploration and wanderlust is a huge part of what I love about fantasy RPGs, and Dragon Age 2 failed miserably at this in my opinion. Alright, now that I got that off my shoulders, let's get back to the praise. My absolute favorite aspect of Dragon Age 2 was the companions. This is a big part of the Dragon Age games in general, and I think Dragon Age 2 really pulled it off. The personal relationships, some of which get a little freaky, can make you really attached to your party. This will make many decisions in the game even more tough, for as you know, we can't please everyone, and this is the same in Dragon Age 2. You have companions that lean to both sides of the DA2 political spectrum, and it makes you constantly wonder if your friendship with them is enough to keep them loyal. It was an absolute pleasure meeting most of these characters and conversing with them, spending the time to learn some of their backstories, and choosing which ones you actually want at your side for various parts of the game. If you're new to the Dragon Age franchise, I highly recommend doing as many of the companion quests as you can when they become available, even though most of them you don't necessarily have to do to progress the main story. I have to say that Fenris was definitely one of my favorites. He's a very interesting character with a very interesting backstory, and to top it off, he's also really fun to use in combat. I might have actually used Fenris more so than Hawke. I'm not going to go too deep into all of the companions here, but they were all very unique from each other and just really well written characters that were portrayed in ways that I think gave their characters justice. Meryl really did come across as this kind of awkward elf. You could feel Aveline's assertiveness at the same time as seeing some of her insecurities. Varric is Varric, the greatest dwarf in the lands, who also is actually narrating your journey from a future point in time. Isabella was Bay, and I was really happy to get some pirate booty action. Anders, well, let's just say that he had a lot going on. And then you got your sister or brother as companions, depending on what you did in the beginning, Bethany and Carver, and then the DLC ones that I did not get to personally experience yet. Also, I should mention that some of the NPCs were very well written as well. I really like how Arishok and the Canary were a big part of the story, although that duel was kind of a pain in the ass. And some of the NPCs that you're supposed to hate, you really end up hating. Kind of like Joffrey in Game of Thrones, and I think that's a testament as to how well written and developed a character can be, especially the more villainous ones. And for the last part of the video, I have to of course talk about the gameplay. In terms of building your characters and choosing their skill trees, it wasn't too bad. There was some really cool skill trees that you can dip into or go all the way into that will allow Hawk and other companions to really diversify themselves from each other. There's also some good team synergy that you can get going with the builds if you're willing to plan it out a little. In terms of the combat, it really wasn't that bad. I actually liked it. I expected it to be bad because of the game being rushed, but it turned out to be pretty fun. It's certainly not my favorite combat gameplay ever, nor was Inquisition, but it was decent enough, and I was playing on hard mode, which definitely helped me feel engaged in some of the tougher fights. I didn't get too much into crafting, and to be honest with you, the overall ugliness of the game made me not care as much about how my characters looked in terms of armor and weapons, which is of course a bad thing in an RPG. The quests that you embark on, in a general sense, were alright, but I found myself much more interested in the cinematic dialogue scenes that came with them, as opposed to experiencing the actual gameplay of the quest itself, if that makes sense. Like I said before, most of the quests take place in the city, and running back and forth and up and down the streets over and over again and fighting the random cloned mobs that continuously appear is not really something I would want to replay in terms of gameplay. So overall, the gameplay was decent. No major complaints or really any major praises here. My final verdict is that Dragon Age 2 is one of the worst games ever and also one of the best. I'm being a bit exaggerant there, obviously, but I understand where both of these types of opinions come from for this game. I will tell you that if I didn't play Dragon Age Inquisition before Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition is essentially Dragon Age 3, and I'm playing out of order, I might have actually quit Dragon Age 2 before I was able to feel that invested feeling into the amazing story and the companions. So I do not regret playing Dragon Age 2. In fact, I'm happy that I did. However, I also see how much lost potential that this game had, which was likely due to corporate greed. I do have high hopes for Dragon Age 4, as I feel like BioWare and EA redeemed themselves a bit with Inquisition. The visuals and attention to detail were very well done in that game, and I did do a video on that, which should pop up in the right top of the video. Which will pop up right now in the top right of the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys ended up enjoying this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my channel. I do all sorts of videos on this channel, ranging from live streams to game reviews to game tutorials to lore videos to class guides and much more, and I'd love to have some of you guys back for a future video. Till next time.